Hi guys, Coach Joe Micela, 2012 Olympic team coach for Team USA. We get asked a lot about from other coaches, especially younger coaches, when is the appropriate amount of feedback to give an athlete when you're learning the movements, okay? From a terms of a technical feedback standpoint. There's been times where I've seen coaches that would say every little step to the athlete. Or if the athlete is performing a particular movement, say a clean from the floor, they did 6 things wrong, they will literally go over all 6 things with the athlete. And then the athlete's like now getting information overload. And they're getting kind of like overwhelmed, and then they're kind of like, all right, I did this, and this wrong. Like, where do I start? Sometimes the coach doesn't then follow up with that feedback. And a lot of times as a coach, you have to say, all right, where are our foundational movements, okay? Where is, if I gave this primary cue about this aspect of the lift, and then down the road, 3 other things kind of happened, well, maybe if they fixed this one thing, it would fix at least 2 or 3, maybe not all 6, but it would have this chain reaction. So you have to look at that, okay? That's why when we teach, especially here at Performance One, we teach everything in a breakdown of sequence, okay, or progression. So each movement builds on that movement. So again, down the road, if there is a lag, or there is a hitch, or there's some type of movement where there's a glitch in that learning pattern of the movement, we can go back and reference a particular point. Okay, and say, all right, well, we teach, again, for a snatch, we teach receiving position first. Okay, we said it's very important that you understand how to receive. Okay, so during that miss, did it occur in the bottom? Okay, did they occur at the bottom of the lift? They just didn't keep tension, or they were off balance? Well, the answer is no. All right, well, then I move on. Okay, where did the movement happen? Some people just see the end result, but you have to train your eye as a coach to look 2 or 3 steps prior to that failed attempt and say, what caused that? One of my mentor coaches would say to me that I could tell if a lift is going to be made or missed 95% of the time as the bar is coming off the ground within the first 3 to 4 inches off the ground. And I was like, when he told me that as a young coach, I was like, how the frig did you know that? Like, how did you know that? And it was because they knew what the body's angle should be coming off the ground. That if that was skewed coming off the ground, whether it was their body angle, the speed of the movement coming off the ground, head placement, you name it. They had a series of checklists. They would say, hey, that's going to create a chain reaction down the road. That now they're going to be off timing as they pass the knee. They're going to be off timing as it comes into the hip. And now the bar's out, they're going to be out in front of them. Or now that's going to create, now that because they're now behind, they're going to create this extra loop and they're going to miss it behind them. But it all started on how their body position was coming off the ground. Now, it's not going to solve all the problem, but it's a starting point. And I'll say now, well, we're doing it from the hang. Well, what do you want as your cues? What you want is your database, okay? So again, giving that right amount of feedback. I try not to give more than 2 things of feedback right away. So if someone said, miss the snatch, okay? And I'm addressing it as they are shooting their butt up. They're shooting their butt up first, and then that's creating the bar not to stay close to their body, and then now they left it out in front of them. So instead of telling them, okay, well, you just left it out in front, you got to do this, you got to do that, I would say, hey, you got to just keep your butt down. Give them one thing, maximum 2 things to think about. But one thing to say, hey, if you address this, you're going to make this one. Sometimes it's like saying you did everything right, you just were moving too fast through the natural progression line of the bar, and then you overshot your movement. So slow down a little bit. They're like, wait, it's explosive movements. These are explosive lifts, so you have to go fast to a certain degree. Little saying we have in the gym is the right force for the right weight. If you're applying 150 kilos of effort and force to a bar that only weighs 50 kilos, it's going to look like dog shit. I actually had an argument with a very prominent coach, who's well ahead of me in years of experience. And he would say, like, I don't care if it's the barbell, 50 kilos, 100 kilos, 150 kilos. You put max effort in all the time. It's going to train their body to go fast, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay. And then the more I kind of played with it, the more I was like, no, they're just going so fast that they're sacrificing the feel of the movement, the feel of that bar, okay? It's like driving a car for the first time. You either go all gas or all brake, or you don't push it hard enough, and now you don't move, okay? There's no feel of that gas pedal, okay, of right effort versus doing 90 or doing 20. I gravitated more to the approach of right force, right weight. And each weight has a feeling of that force. So we want to coach the athlete in that regard. Sometimes in that particular example, he shot his butt up or she shot her butt up, settle down. Well, I looped it out in front of me. I know, but what caused that is what is from this. Not anything you're doing with your wrist. It was your ass. Keep your ass down. That's going to, at least temporarily, we'll see if that works. Then if you're still flicking it, even though you kept your ass down, then we'll address that, okay? We'll still keep your ass down on this first part of the pull, but then we'll worry about that. Again, if I give them too many cues, they're going to throw it off. Now, if there are very different things that they're doing, then we have to step back and go, whoa, what's going on here? You know, I've literally told an athlete, I said, I don't even know how to coach that miss, because it was so catastrophic and there were so many things going wrong that we literally have to kind of go back to zero. We got to drop the weight down. We got to go back to a weight that we know that comfortably you can perform this movement technically. Okay, you have to do that. You can't, there's good misses and bad misses. There's hey, just barely hold the position and then they lost it in the snatch. Okay, that's something we can work with. Versus like they only barely got it to their belly button. They try to dive underneath it. It almost killed them and smashed their face in the ground. And you're going like, there's multiple things going on at once. I can't address all those things right now. So I just want to take that lift and kind of go, boom, throw it in the trash. I don't want you to even remember it. I don't even want to coach you on anything that you did positive. There was nothing. So let's now go back down to a lighter weight that's more manageable for you. So again, because if you keep trying that weight that was catastrophic, like one, they're going to get hurt. Two, they're not going to build that sense of understanding. They're not going to understand your cues because again, there's so many things they did wrong. Keep it simple. So that goes into training. It also goes when you're going into a competition. They're now lifting into a competition. There's a vivid story in my head about a coach, a high-level national coach, that I remember listening to him because I would hear these conversations because not only am I a coach and I coach at national and international levels, but I also refereed. And I would sit in the chair and I'd go like listen to what the coaches are saying to the athletes as they're walking up to the platform. And this coach was literally telling the athlete every little thing going up to the barbell. You will walk like this. You will put your hands here, butt down, chest up, take a deep breath, take this, take that. I was like exhausted. By the time the kid actually made the lift, I was like, holy crap. Like you can't be that. Okay, you can't. One, the movement's happening so fast. 1, 2 things. Hey, chest up, boom, feet down. Okay, great. You say 3, 5, 7, 8 things, the kid's not gonna remember that. Now, if it's the same 3, 5, 7 things that you say all the time, it's a little different story. But this was like a laundry list of things that he was telling the person that I was like, oh my God, this is exhausting. Okay, they're not gonna remember everything. It happens too fast. It's like being a swimming coach and you're yelling at Michael Phelps from like 90 feet away as he's swimming, turn your wrist 2 degrees and the breaststroke. Like he can't hear that. Weightlifters are the same thing. They get locked in. They may hear something as you're walking with them and the second they step on the platform, they didn't hear you. So you have to pick those words correctly. Again, over-coaching, kind of like micromanaging an athlete or a work employee, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I haven't seen it be very successful if you micromanage the athlete. Then there's other times where some coaches give zero feedback. Okay, they give zero information whether they're doing it right or wrong. And we see that now that weightlifting has gotten more popular within the CrossFit communities and that they'd be like, wow, yeah, that was good. Or they didn't even acknowledge the kid made it or not. So the kid has no reference point of did they do good. So they think they did good because the bar got from here to here. So they go, all right, well, he didn't say anything, she didn't say anything, so I must have been doing it right. I said, and then I would get athletes that would come in here from other programs like that, and I'd be like, you actually don't even understand how to lift. And I was like, we have to work on that so you have that understanding. I, as the coach, have to create the database in your brain of what good is. And that's why early development with a coach, it says when a kid, not only when he misses, you give a correction, but when they make it, give a fundamental good job, or that's the one to remember. That's the one to put in your database. That isn't good. So now they're getting a positive feedback loop of, wait, I did that, I got a compliment, that was a good thing. I did this, not so good, try not to do that one again, but here's the example of how to fix that to get back to the good example. And that's where feedback can be different. We're also not just, way to go, good job. That positive feedback of, yes, you did it right, and you did it right because you did this. You kept your ass down, your chest was up, you were fast through the hips, reinforcing the positive behavior. Because if not, then you just got this dog who doesn't know whether he did anything good or not. He just knows he got a treat because he smiled. So he doesn't really know everything. With us, not only we would have given them, hey, that was good. You did good because you did these 2 fundamental things really well. Keep doing that, okay? Keep doing that. You didn't do this well. Don't say it like that, but you say, listen, this could be corrected this. Where the gray line becomes into play is what we call as good as it gets, or an acceptability factor, and there's reasons for that. Biggest one is age. You have someone who's coming into this sport at an older age Doesn't necessarily have to be a master lifters, but it could, or just someone who's coming in their 30s or 20s and they've had extensive background and maybe something else. So then you got to go based off of their flexibility, their coordination, their strength. Are you striving for perfection or perfect technique? Yes and no. You can't ask them if they haven't dedicated many years to it. If they already have a limiting factor of flexibility, then you can't expect them to do certain things. So then there's this acceptable factor of like, that's good for you and I'm not going to overcoach you. Well, I want it to look like Johnny over here. Well, Johnny's been doing this for a long time and he's very flexible and he gets great positions. You're not Johnny. So I can't hold you to that standard. Now there's a standard that I'm going to hold to you that's going to make sure you don't get hurt and you're improving, but it's not the same standard. And that's where we have to understand. You have to work with that. And each athlete in your program is going to be slightly different with that. So you have to keep that understood as a coach. You have to make sure you understand that in terms of giving that feedback. I remember having a very high level athlete and I was holding that person to a very high standard because we were competing on the national and international level. And then she was like, hey, but such and such Bob over here, you don't coach him as hard as I'm being coached. And I said, Bob's not already a national team. Bob's not doing these things. Bob's doing this for fun. Okay, Bob's a recreational guy. Now we want Bob to make sure that he's holding a higher standard, but there's not as much on the line for Bob, okay? He's doing it for fun. Maybe he's competing a little bit on the local level. I'm not saying I'm gonna let his technique be complete dog shit, but I'm also, if he messes one up a little bit, I'm not gonna ride him like crazy. With her and her situation, it was different. I was like, listen, you have a higher standard, technically. Your goals are different than Bob's. So there's, like I said, that right amount of feedback and when to apply it. Are you gonna put everyone, and we've had to even say this to a coach. He was grilling his local recreational lifters like they were training for the Olympics and holding them such a high standard and nitpicking every little thing. I was like, hey man, you got to calm down. Like these people are doing this for fun. There is this leeway of acceptability. Yes, we want them to give them feedback, but don't ride them. Okay, like they're complete dog shit if they don't do this perfect every rep. There's a reason why we have exceptional people and they're going in a different direction. But yes, have a standard, but know when to pull back, know when to be all right. And also just knowing, like letting the athlete figure it out. Sometimes it's like you don't have to give feedback every rep, every set. Sometimes you're just kind of looking and kind of letting them kind of figure it out, work through it, and know that, all right, a kid that just started with you or a person that just started with you, it's going to look completely different in 3 weeks. Going to look completely different if they stay consistent in 3 months. So nitpicking them or riding them extremely hard on day one or week one or week two is not realistic. Yes, they may already hold themselves to a high standard, but don't add to that. I'm not saying don't give a shit either, but I'm saying like understand your place as the coach and how to give that proper feedback on misses, on corrections, on positives. And yes, let them figure it out a little bit. I always say that I want to get to a point that I've given my athletes the understanding of the movements, the understanding of how to correct the movement if it goes wrong, so that we reach a point in our relationship where I look at them and they make or miss, and we're going to know right away from our glance at each other what was good or bad with that thing, okay? What I'm proud about and what I'm not proud about. And what, if I'm not proud about it because there was a mistake, how to fix it. And how to even know, even myself, to pull them off themselves and saying, hey, you're being too hard on yourself. Don't overcorrect what you just did. That was actually acceptable. Don't overcorrect. Well, I was like a hair off and it's going to bug me so that I have to now overcorrect coming on the next rep. No, you don't. Lightning doesn't strike twice. It's not going to happen again. Don't overthink about it. Don't overcorrect it. Okay? Let's move on. And sometimes I have to do that. With high-end performers, I have to basically pull them off of themselves looking for too much feedback and them micromanaging their own lifting, where I have to say, no, you're good. I could do 3 more. You know what? We're good today. We don't need to. Is something wrong? No, there's nothing wrong. That's good for today. Then there's other times, you know what? Let's do another one because I want to just be a little bit sharper than that one. It wasn't bad. I just want to be a little bit sharper. And that comes with experience as a coach. That's why finding a mentor is really important. 75% of our viewers are not signed up to follow us on our YouTube channel. Please sign up for our channel. It helps you guys when you sign up, plus you're able to ask better questions and we're able to give you that better feedback and that better content that's going to help you on your weightlifting journey. Thanks again. Take care.